We are past the summer solstice. We are nearing the end of June, which means we are more than halfway through 2017. This is the perfect time to do a goal check-in review. Back in December of 2016, towards the end of the month, Ashley, little buddy, and I, we sat down and made a video going over the different goals we had for 2017. Goals for 2017. These aren't in any particular order of importance or the time in which they'll necessarily be implemented. It's just a brainstorming of the different things we want to add to the homestead or do on the homestead next year. We came up with 12 goals, and there was one that I forgot to add on there that I later added on there in January. Since we're about to head into the third quarter for the year, we're gonna just do a quick progress check, see where we are with things with those goals. The first and one of the most important things to add to the homestead next year is a physical barrier perimeter fencing. Goal number one for 2017 was setting up physical barrier perimeter fencing. If you check this out behind me, you can see that we have accomplished that goal. We got the western 5 acres of our property completely enclosed with this perimeter fencing. We're using a woven wire field fencing, and I have an electric strand up here on the top. Originally I wanted it 6 inches above the fence, but some of the T-posts were driven a little too far down into the ground, so it's really about 3 inches up. And then down here at the bottom we have about 18 inches off the ground and another electric strand. This is IntelliRope that is 5 inches offset the back of the fence to keep the animals from putting any pressure on the fence. So goal number one, physical barrier perimeter fencing, check.
We will this year get some breeding stock so that we can start our own flock, and we'll also raise more lambs for meat.
Last year we raised 4 feeder ram lambs up to slaughter in November, and our goal of course was to get breeding stock this year so we can start breeding our own sheep, and in addition to breeding stock, of course, have some more feeder lambs. And this is Connie, and oh, hi Annabelle. Annabelle can't help herself when the camera comes out, right girl? Connie back here, if you can see her still, Annabelle's blocking the view. Let's see if we can move. Connie here, she is our lead ewe. Annabelle is number 2. She's just a little bit smaller, though she looks bigger, but it's just all wool, don't let it fool you. Both of these ladies right here are excellent breeding stock that we acquired. I know, Annabelle, I know, honey. And I gotta kind of sneak up on these girls back here. These are my flightier ones. That's Fiji, and Veronica's over there. Those are also breeding stock ewes right there. With these breeding ewes, we also bought their lambs that they had this spring. Come here, Sage, come here. This here is Sage. She is a pet. She is not breeding stock. So the first part of goal number 2, getting our breeding stock, check. Second part of that goal, getting more feeder lambs, also ties into goal number 3, which is growing our lamb market, which is to develop our lamb meat market, trying to grow some additional customers. Last year, of the 4 lambs that we raised, we sold 2 of them to 3 different customers. One customer bought a whole, and 2 other customers bought a half of the other lamb. This year we wanted to expand our market a little bit with the lambs, and we were pretty successful in doing that. And this spring we pre-sold 6 grass-fed lambs, and I capped it there. We are officially sold out. We're not getting any more feeder lambs to raise. These breeding stock ewes gave us so many nice lambs, we decided we wanted to keep a lot of them instead of turning them into meat, so we actually had to buy some more feeder lambs from our breeder. So I capped it at 6, and we decided we're not going to buy any more feeder lambs, and potentially next year we can grow that market again. So goals 2 and 3 with getting more feeder lambs and growing our lamb market, check. Number 4.
A dog. We love dogs, and we would love to have a pet dog, so we plan to get one, probably a rescue.
How are we doing on that goal? A big fat. Quite frankly, Ashley and I haven't given this much discussion since we set the goal. It is still something we want to do, but there is no immediate plan to get a pet dog at this point. Though we did not get a pet dog, we did get a dog. Number 5 is a livestock guardian dog. Check. Blue is an Akbash dog, which is a Turkish livestock guardian dog. When we first got Blue a couple months back, we had a lot of complications with him, but I am really happy to tell you guys that he's doing better. We've seen some improvements lately, and we're gonna have a more thorough update on him coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that.
Goal number 6 is broilers. We would like to raise our own chickens to eat.
Back toward the end of April, we got our first batch of broiler chicks. This was a combination of Cornish roasters and Freedom Rangers, which are these guys here behind me. These guys have just under a week left before they're going to be processed. As you can see, we have some well-fed birds in here, but they're not overly fat like a Cornish cross. They're very active still. I mean, right now they're not because it's kind of hot, but normally they're a little bit more active than us. These are the Cornish cross broilers that we got. We got these about 3 weeks after the other batch that you just saw. And these are supposed to finish out at the same time as the other birds, but they're actually not growing quite as quickly as I thought. I mean, this one right here looks pretty plump, but there's a few others that just haven't really grown as fast. So hopefully in the next week we'll get a little bit more development from them. After much deliberation on what chicken tractoring system would be best for us, we settled on these John Siskovich style chicken tractors. This is the second tractor we built, which came out a little bit nicer than the first one. Goal number 6, pastured broilers. Check. This next one, number 7, is something I'm really excited about getting into, and that is pigs. And more specifically, we wanted a homestead scale pig like the American guinea hog or the kuni kuni. And we wound up getting 4 American guinea hogs, 3 of which were pregnant. That was a little unexpected. And we got 3 litters out of them. So we have 3 sows, a gilt, and a bunch of piglets running around. Given that today's a warmer day and it's gonna get pretty hot later, I'd sprayed some hose water in there and the pigs started getting to work on a wallow. That mud on there helps to keep them cool. As you can see, she wasted no time getting covered in the mud, and it doesn't seem to bother the piglets. Goal number 7, getting pigs, and specifically American guinea hogs. Check. Yes, we are absolutely going to be getting the rabbits out of those cages in the spring and getting them on grass. Goal number 8, rabbit tractors to get the rabbits out on pasture. Well, you can probably tell this without me even saying anything, but I'll say it anyway. No rabbit tractors yet. We have not achieved this goal. The rabbits are still in cages. They're under the carport. They're in shade all day, so they're not exposed to heat or anything like that. They're pretty comfortable as far as temperature, and they're well fed and watered all the time, but the ideal condition would be for them to be out on some fresh grass. So goal number 8, rabbit tractors. I want to get a real-time kinematic survey done on the property. That's known as an RTK survey. I wanted to get a topographical survey so that I could start contour mapping our property and thus determining where swales would go for building food forestry, and a silvopasture system for our grazing, which is basically trees on pasture, productive trees in this case on pasture, that the animals would be able to graze around. They'd be able to use the shade from the tree during the summer, and then in the fall when the tree starts dropping fruit or whatever it's producing, the animals can eat some of that, especially the pigs. That'd be really great to pulse pigs through there. So that was part of my long-term plan, but the cost of a professional surveyor to come out and do a topographical survey was pretty expensive. What are you doing, little buddy?
Just checking in with you.
You checking in with me?
Yes.
So it's definitely out of our budget to do that this year. Instead, what we might do, our friends Stacy and Virginia from Blue Creek Dairy Farm, they have a laser level that they just got for building their house, and also they're going to be doing some contour mapping with it, and they offered to let us borrow at some point, and we could do it manually. I've done contour mapping with a laser before, and it's pretty simple. The only disadvantage with it versus having a topographical survey done with somebody that has GPS coordinates they're plugging in, we don't get the 3D CAD view at the end where we can actually take the computer drawing and add on to it and do our permaculture design using that. We're not going to get that with a contour map. We'll probably have to get an aerial drone or something like that to take a picture of where all the flags are on the property so we can see where the contours are. So goal number 9, topographical survey.
Goal number 10 is to establish a fruit tree guild.
Goal number 10, a small fruit tree guild.
We had the very beginnings of a zone 1, which means small scale and pretty close into the house, a zone 1 style fruit tree guild. This is a dwarf fruit stock apple tree, so it's really appropriate for small scale. But I don't think we're quite there with being able to call this a guild yet, which is basically a combination of different plants that work together to exclude predatory insects and herbaceous growth. So a fruit tree guild might include comfrey that would surround this tree. The comfrey has deep tap roots and is a dynamic accumulator. It sheds its leaf and creates a really good mulch for the trees to absorb the nutrients. It also provides habitat for certain spiders that will prey upon the insects that can give the trees problems. We'd also have dill and fennel and other highly aromatic herbs like that growing around the tree. The scent that they emit actually confuses pests and will deter them from attacking the trees. This is completely unintentional, but very cool. We actually have peas that are sprouting at the base of this tree. There are 7 layers to a food forest. One of the layers is actually a vining layer. So having vines going up trees is actually a very natural system here. The tree acts like a trellis for the vining crop, and then you actually are getting 2 different products from the same space. The fruit from a tree and the fruit that the vining plant yields. In this case, it's peas, and we will not be harvesting peas for our food because we don't eat peas, but peas are leguminous, which means that they fix nitrogen into the soil. So there is a symbiotic relationship going on here where these peas are converting nitrogen from the air into the soil, at which point the tree can absorb the nitrogen that these peas put into the soil. Those peas are there from chicken feed that has spilled. We were soaking peas and feeding them to the chickens. Some of them just must have spilled out right where that tree is. I had no idea, but that worked out pretty well. And in addition to the apple trees, we have some blueberry bushes here, another apple tree down there. By no means is this goal being checked off. However, we're well on our way of establishing this. The comfrey that I planted last fall did not make it. I think we had too hard of a frost soon after planting it. It probably killed the root system. So I'm gonna have to get some more comfrey, and we'll get to work on establishing this guild further.
Goal number 11 is to expand our garden.
And 6 weeks ago, the greenhouse was over here. Daniel and our friend David moved it where it is right now. Today we are moving our greenhouse to a separate part of our chicken yard because it's full of really stinky deep litter thanks to the rabbits. It kind of stinks like ammonia. So we're moving it. We're going to plant some heat-loving plants like squash and sweet potatoes.
So basically we're taking the greenhouse,
We're just shifting it over.
moving it to right here.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna plant our tomatoes and our heat-loving plants into there.
Yeah,
And then the chickens will scatter all the litter that's around in there.
Yeah, well, it'll give them a lot to do. They're gonna be excited about this.
And we recruited our muscle, David.
Ooh. Imagine that. And we used this space to do some broad forking, and we planted a variety of squash and peppers. When the chickens were here in the winter, they left a lot of litter for us, which is exactly what we wanted them to do. And so the ground underneath was still compacted. So we used the broad fork to mix it up a little. And then we planted about 3 weeks ago, and we put in some irrigation. So far, it's working out okay. We may need to supplement with a little more water, but we have some nice squash growing. So the expansion of the garden is in addition to the raised beds that we built last year. We did finish building number 4. Last year, though, we put in 3, and we didn't spend enough time pruning them. So our goal was to have a really nice garden this year, just basic things, squash and tomatoes, and a couple other things we really like to eat. So far, so good. This is going well, the irrigation is working well, and we are pleased that we have accomplished this one of our goals.
Goal number 12 is to continue improving the interior of our house.
We haven't done anything, but Mr. Nick Fouch, whom you've probably seen on his Fouchomatic Off-Grid YouTube channel, is an expert carpenter, and he offered to come back later this summer and help us, and we fully intend to take him up on that. Nick, thank you in advance for all your awesome help. One of the reasons that we haven't done much on the inside is that a lot of our focus is outside. As you probably see, almost everything we do is outside with the animals, establishing new systems. Those are working pretty well right now, and we're looking forward to putting some more time and energy into the interior.
And that brings us up to goal number 13, which wasn't on the original list. This was something I added back in January. I forgot to put on the original list. And that is developing slaughtering and butchering skills. In early February, we processed our first cockerel on the property, and we turned it into a delicious coq au vin dish. Shortly thereafter, I went to the 3-day family pig harvest course put on by Farmstead Meatsmith, where we completely processed, butchered 2 hogs, and then in March I wound up processing 3 hogs, 1 for Cable Creek Farm and 2 for the Shepherd Ranch. We processed 2 of their hogs. And then just a few days ago, I was at my friend David and Kim's homestead, the Hardneck Homestead, where we processed rabbits. So chickens, rabbits, and pigs I feel pretty comfortable about. There might be an upcoming opportunity to get some experience doing lambs as well. So all this is leading up to preparing me for this fall when we do the bulk of our harvest, which will be our guinea hogs and our lambs. I almost want to give myself a check for goal number 13, but I'm going to hold off to this fall, and we'll see how that goes. I am really pleased. In fact, I'm almost blown away by how much we've accomplished on our goal list, most of which was just done in the last 3 months. The first 3 months of the year, we had a really heavy winter. Things were really slow, so we didn't make a lot of progress, but just the last 3 months we've accomplished so many of our objectives. We are not slowing down. We're plowing through, and we're going to keep knocking these goals out, and before you know it, we'll be sitting down talking about 2018.